we are sitting on a rock overlooking Noah's Ark. It is right there. They drew up in our Noah's Ark site, and it is a beautiful fall evening. We have the sun setting. You can see right over there. We're going to get into the dusk time frame. I'm waiting for a tour group to show up, and sadly, they texted me that one of the it's a Chinese or a Taiwanese, I'm sorry, Taiwanese tour group, and the guide told me they're going to be late by half an hour to an hour. So they're going to be here in the dark because someone injured themselves at the Ishak Pasha Palace. So I hope the person is okay, but they're coming later. So I'm just back here. NBC News has left. We had a great time with them yesterday when they were doing their live shots. I'll make some behind the scenes videos and explain more about that, and we'll upload those later in the week. And we have our own smaller tour group coming, but the large tour group that my friend Johnny had organized and brought out, they are now gone. The American diplomat who's here with us has left back to Ankara. Um, the other Americans who had joined, I invited, who live in Turkey. I told them to come out here. It's an American weekend. They all left, so this is a quiet day at the ARC site um, during this golden hour. And so I saw some questions show up because, the Today Show put out their video, and then, of course, is making the news. And we have I think one or two other outlets had picked up the story. So we're going to go through some of the questions or criticism or just comments. Anyways, I would love, um, yes, hi, Gino. You're more than welcome to come out here anytime. Send us a message. I just want to answer some of these questions because, and this is live now, so it's early morning in the U.S., but you can watch it later. And if you have questions yourselves, you can post them in the, sorry, in the comments here or the chat, and I'll do my best to hopefully I see them. But let's talk about some of the things that that's been um, mentioned uh, by these questions have been generated from the Today Show. First, I saw one, and this always appears. People say the Ark is in Iran, and so there's one person, especially, has been posting every time they see one of my videos. They post a comment promoting their site, which is great. I should do that with this site whenever I see a Noah's Ark story. Post saying, no, we have the real Noah's Ark. No, I think this is the best candidate. You can get a taxi. You come out here if you're a researcher and get permission. You can do your research. It's accessible. Everyone else's sites is either a mysterious photo they heard about or saw on the mountain, and no one can get access to it anymore. A hidden site like that, or it costs thousands of dollars to get to the site through the local guides, or they say it's in a country you can't access anymore, like Iran, and it's over there somewhere on a mountain, and there's no photos, no research being done, but it's there. It has to be there. Um, or it's on Judy, the Quran site, and even some Christians are promoting that. And I'll make a video on that because I think once you understand, where what they're trying to say, you can see that it's not a strong case for Judy, and that even some of that information can be applied to up here in the northern parts of the Urartu kingdom. Some of what they say about Judy, which is down south near the Iraqi border. So this site, it's here. We can research it. You can say what you want, but at least we're doing research. You can sit back and criticize it. That's fine, but we're doing the research. Everyone else's sites doesn't exist. It's just, maybe it's there, maybe it's over here, but it's not your site. So that's the one thing I saw. I just wanted to get that off my chest. Usually I ignore criticism because there's a lot of critics, especially for the Drepner site, from all sides, whether it's atheists or creationists. And, I'm a creationist. I believe that God created the world, and I believe it's less than 10,000 years old. So that will open me up to a lot of criticism, but that's fine. I don't have all the answers on it, and I don't do as the in-depth research. But I like showing what we can show to people, and this is the site we can show. We can talk about the story, and it's amazing that this is a place in Turkey that you can come see, that the Turkish government has set up this facility right beside me, the visitor center, and we can talk about Noah's Ark here through like this Taiwanese group coming to see this site. It's helping tourism, helping the local economy, but it's not just dollars. We're actually inside there. We have free information that they can access, and we're talking about the story of the flood and as in the days of Noah. Hello from Ozarks. How are you doing? How are you, my homie from Turkey? Uh, yes, I'm in Turkey. This is we're at the Noah's Ark site. So on the Discovered Media channel, we talk about the Exodus and Mount Sinai. Usually in the winter times when I'm over in that area, but throughout this late spring and into the fall, I'm in Turkey. So a lot of my videos recently have been about Turkey, but we have some shorts up, and we'll put some more up because we have some really new this year drone videos of Mount Sinai in Arabia. I've just been so busy, I have not edited the footage to put up, and there's some lectures. So even when I'm traveling on tour groups, I can do this, do a lecture from the hotel bedroom or the lobby. And so we'll have more videos about the Exodus and Mount Sinai. But the main focus, obviously, in the summer months, I'm here, and we've been pushing to reveal more about Noah's Ark. So that brings me into Shalom. Hi, it's Killian Weeks. How are you doing? So this brings me into the next criticism or comment we always get on our videos. It's if you can't do anything new here, because people say, oh, you didn't mention Ron Wyatt, or you're trying to take credit from him, or they say, this has already been discovered, or this has already been in the news years ago. I saw in the news, 40 years ago. Why are you making the news about it? Well, good for you. Me too. I saw it in the news when I was a little kid. Not in the news, but I learned about it when I was a little kid. So, but guess what? There's a lot more people have been born since then, and the population is changing, and people don't remember everything they saw. And we have new videos and 4K videos, and we're doing new technology, using it to reveal more about the ark. Nothing has stopped. So, I mean, here's a good example. In the past, we only had really, blurry type photos or old photos. Um, of like the split rock in Saudi Arabia and Mount Sinai. It was the Caldwell's photos. They did a great job exploring and taking pictures that Ron Wyatt was given access to. But does that mean we have to continue using those original photographs and can't go there now with crystal clear drone video? We were the first, not to brag, we were the first to do a drone shot from the top of Mount Sinai and of the split rock, 4K video. Should we just keep that in our archives? You can come visit me and I'll show you on my laptop, or should we put that out on YouTube for everyone in the world to enjoy with the new cameras, new technology, and drones? Yeah, of course. So this criticism that this arc site here, don't do anything with it, because that means you're trying to take credit, or it's already been done. So what's your motivation trying to do more? That's so sad. Everyone should be happy that more is being revealed about Noah's Ark. And if I see a comment where someone says, "Why are you doing this?" and it's only Ron Wyatt did everything, then I'll repeat what I say. And you see a lot of my comments I just copy paste, because some people let me give you a background. I knew Ron. I was a kid. He wasn't like a personal friend, but I knew him, and I talked to him on the phone a lot as a child. And then we invited him out to Sacramento, my friend and I, and we set up a bunch of meetings. We shared the ticket prices, the cost of the trip. So he was in Paradise, California, Chico actually, and then he went to Redding, I think, Tom Andrews Church, and Dr. Jerry Neiswanger's church, Dr. Andrews, and then my church there in Sacramento, California. We actually went to a friend's church, and we had him there. And we did it twice, 1995 and 96. So it's not like I'm just Johnny come lately to the show and didn't know anything about these sites, and then I'm trying to make a name. I don't claim to discovered anything. We always promote Ron's name, like, hey, he did this pioneering research. It was discovered by Captain Drupanar. And so a lot of these people now who don't realize the whole history of the site, they're either lazy and don't want to, understand the facts. They just say, oh, Ron Wyatt found it, Ron Wyatt found it. No, please give credit to the guy who actually found it, and he did believe it was Noah's Ark. He just no one accepted it. Then comes along Ron, and Ron did the great pioneering work and was able to get on the news media and get the site recognized, so that we have a visitor center here. There's all this effort. People are building on each other. No problem there. And so now we hear Ron's passed away. He died in August of 1999, and it's 2025. And even after they built this visitor center, there's one criticism I saw, sadly, from one of Ron's family. They're like, oh, all the work was done in '87 when the Turks recognized this site, and they built this building. So we don't need to do anything new. Okay, well, you can sit back and not do anything new. But if the door is open and continue to be open for us to do new work with new technology and higher resolution video, and get more people interested, whether it's the same story or we add in new facts to the story so we can get in the news. By the way, NBC contacted me not because I sent out a press release and reached out and say, please interview me. Someone said that once that, oh, we had paid for an interview. Never, we paid for any interviews. And we've never like contacted a news reporter and say, please interview us and get my name in the news. No, this is all organic. They've contacted us. God's opened the doors. And so I'm not going to shut them down. So when NBC contacted me in May, they wanted to come out. I wasn't here. Nuri was here. But I said, look, if you want to talk to an American about the research we're doing, I won't be here until the summer. So it finally worked out for them to come when the tour group was here because they wanted to interview some American tourists. But I didn't shut them down. Why? What would I say? Oh, no, no, all the work's been done. Please don't do any more news reports, guys. Please look at the old 1980s news. Please don't put this in your news. Please don't. I'm just being sarcastic, guys, but that's the type of attitude I'm seeing from some. It's a minority, so forgive me if we're wasting time right now on some of this negativity. I just want to repeat, though, and maybe some of these people will watch this, that we're not here to gain glory for ourselves or take glory from Ron Wyatt or Jerup Bernard or David Fazold. Um, we're here to try to do hard research. It's hard work out here. We're trying to get people interested and go get the officials to give you permits and fundraise and get people to help get this do further work. And when things are done, we get positive results. Of course, we want to share it and we want to tell the world that, hey, we got some more extra information to share, like the soil test we did last year. It had nothing to do with trying to take glory away from Ron's 2 samples he took in 1979 and then 84. He took some samples. We had a soil scientist here who designed a professional soil survey. We took advantage of that and we did the soil test with Dr. Sally Breyer-Tuton. We didn't know what the results would be. It could have been all negative, like, oh, nothing in there. Amazingly, we got really good results, and you've seen some of our videos if you watch our channel, that we had almost 3 times more organic matter inside, higher potassium, and we also had lower, almost 8 times lower on the pH scale for the soil. So it shows that there's a difference in the soil inside a shape, and we did 88 samples, 4 around each site that we had chosen, inside and out. So total, you can now do stats on this. Here's an example. Here's this rock right down here. There's different soil here. One spot I could take 1 sample, but is that representation of, is that a good representation of what the soil is in this area? The soil scientist said you need at least a dozen or more. No, actually, his friend who's a PhD in this, Bill has a master's and he's a creationist, but his friend who's an atheist reviewed our results and he has a PhD, and he said we had the bare minimum when we did the 22 sites with 4 samples, so 88 total. And he said, that's great. You can do a lot more. Then why would we get so many samples? Ron did a great job with the 2. He had a control sample outside the ark, and then he took 1 inside after that earthquake in 1979. The reason why you get a lot more is because you could take a sample of soil right here, for example, and it could give you just results for that 1 spot. And that doesn't say that the whole area is this way. So to do stats analysis, you need to get a lot of samples and then run, these formulas on it. And we did that. Thankfully, Bill is a scientist and he teaches soil science, and he's a creationist, a Christian, and he goes around Australia and the world teaching farmers how to do this. So I'm ignoring your questions right now, but so anyways, I'll get to your questions soon. So that's the first thing I want to mention is that our motivation and goal is not here to say, oh, look what Andrew Jones found or discovered media, or we're trying to put our name out there in the news. These people contacted us, and we're more than willing to share when God opens the doors, whether it's a podcast or a mainstream news media. Has nothing to do with us promoting our own self, even Ron's name. We're here to promote the discovery of Noah's Ark. Not the discovery of Andrew Jones or Ron Wyatt, but we do tell the real history. We're not going to cover up someone's name because we don't like them or we like them. I love what Ron did. God used him. So, and we're just praying that God could use us in our small way in whatever work God has given us in our lifetime. I didn't plan to be out here. Maybe someday I'll tell my testimony, but this is mainly because of the pandemic, and a friend invited me out here to stay. So it wasn't some plan like, hey, I'm going to go to live in Turkey and the furthest parts of Turkey and eastern Turkey and enjoy all this this beautiful scenery here and get myself in the news. So that was not the purpose. Anyways, That's maybe we'll cover this more in depth on some of the nuances. People asking certain questions about Ron's involvement, or did he really discover? Um, we have some tourists here, local tourists. Did he really discover Noah's Ark, or was it Drupinar? I think I'll just briefly say I think both discovered it. Drupinar found, physically found it. It was in the news back in the '60s because of him. But Ron, picked up the baton, you can say, and ran with it, and God really blessed his efforts. So you can say Ron proved it was Noah's Ark. Now, can we prove more about it? And that's exactly where probably another video will explain the differences of what we've known today from the 2014 ERT scans to our 2019 GPR, to the analysis, the new analysis of those scans, to the soil test. What do we know now that helps us understand the archaeological site of Noah's Ark better than when Ron was here in the 80s? New technology tells you more, and that's why you have archaeologists. They never fully excavate a site. They usually leave some stuff left over for future generations who have better technology, better tools, better understanding to do their own excavations of a site. They don't just say, ah, it's all done. Like Jericho, for example, they're doing more work in Jericho. And Jerusalem is always doing more work. So Noah's Ark's the same. To say it's all done in '87, I think is ridiculous. Sorry, but the things we'll learn more that will change what Ron thought. It doesn't mean it's not Noah's Ark. It definitely is Noah's Ark, but we're getting a better understanding with what we're collecting. Now let me go to your questions. Yeah, people are haters. I'm sorry, but hopefully I don't sound too negative. I'm just answering though this criticism because I see it pop up all the time, and maybe it's a group that just wants to do that whenever they see my videos. But maybe they should put their energy into promoting Noah's Ark. We're putting our energy out here doing really, it's not just a vacation for me out here. It's really hard work. So for those who are sitting back criticizing, maybe they need to do something more useful with their time. Let's see. I'm going to look at your questions. There's another one I'll bring up, but I'm going to see what you guys have to say. Uh-oh, I'm breaking up. Oh man. Well, when they upload this, this is YouTube Live. I thought I had a full connection. It says 5 bars. So I hope this will look good when it's finally uploaded later tonight. People are here. Let's see. Noah's Ark. Hello from Texas. Okay, hello. Um, let's see. Any more testing of the site going forward? That's one thing right now. You're welcome for all the. Thank you for your efforts. Thank you, Gary. Any more testing? Yes, the Dr. Salih Barak Tutan, who's the geologist, who's been the professional who's been studying this site since the 80s. He, he has an amazing story how he got involved in '84. I think it was a military coup in Turkey, and so when they took over, then Ron was here and Fazl later in '85. But when this was all in the news about this site, the military asked Dr. Salih to come investigate and see what are these Americans and foreigners doing over here and what does he think. So that's how he got involved. And so I first met Dr. Bayrak Tutan in 2000, and then I met him twice that summer when I came out here twice. And then in 2000, a couple years ago, we reconnected. 2022. It was after our GPR. He was retired by then, and so I met up with him and explained what we're doing. And so he wanted to work. We pay him too, of course. But he did collect recently more soil samples outside the ark to study the clay, to understand the mud flow and what brought down the ark. So this winter we have rocks, samples and bags. There's things we need to study over the winter. So even though this will be covered in snow in the winter, we will still be doing research, and the labs are writing reports and making videos about it and things. The big news about the soil test and the new GPR results, it came out during winter. So even though we were not here, I was actually in Switzerland at the time. This information is, the work still continues in the winter, and the press picks up the stories in the winter, so things still happen on the site. So that's the new research. They're still doing that. We've applied already. We put out this document we had to fill out about what we want to do on the site. We have some connections with the highest office in the country, so we'll see how fast we can get that done. Soon winter will be here, but we're still doing our fundraising campaign because it takes a while. Obviously, we're not a big organization, so it'll take us a while to get to the funding levels we need. And so hopefully by summer we'll get it, and we'll have everything set up so we can do the other work we want to do, which includes core drilling, and other types of geophysical survey that's never been done here. So, to get inside the ark. Okay, so let me just make sure I get the other questions answered. Ron said the ark was carried by lava flow long ago. Its current location and that the larger mountain no longer exists. What's your view on that? Um, this is actually not a lava flow. I know Ron thought it was a decayed lava flow that became a mud flow. There are submarine basalt, which means underwater basalt. There's lots of types of rocks. There's sedimentary rocks, from the flood. Fossils, we find fossilized coral pieces out there and seashells. But it's a mixture. Sally, the geologist, calls it a melange. I might be pronouncing that wrong, but it's a French word meaning like a mix. So there's many different types of rocks out there, but it's the side of a mountain that collapsed during an earthquake in the 40s. Some people will dispute that, but we've actually talked to locals here who are like they're in their upper 80s, and they were like little boys and girls, and the one guy we talked to, he said we woke up one morning. It used to be a one level flat mountain, just rolling hills basically, and they were just cutting the hay. They were not farming. No one lived down in this valley where the ark is, but it was just smooth. So they would cut the hay for the animals, and then in the late 40s, an earthquake hit, and all this became like a debris flow, like rubble. It's very soft material, so whether it's a combination of rain that year and whatever, but it made this whole thing unstable. And so only the ark site was shaped. He said, so we saw this shape, this guy was telling me as a kid, didn't know what it was. And of course, 10 years later, by 59, Captain Drepanar was analyzing these aerial photos, and that's when they saw the ship shape. It took, airplanes to see it. So there is no evidence like in the past. Like now, you can look on Google Maps. You can go up there, look around the border area. I've been up there many of I don't know 3 or 4 times now officially with permission, and there is really not evidence of a mountain that used to be there. We'll make a video about because Ron got that idea because he thought he saw some inscriptions up there at the original landing area. And so we'll talk a video. We'll make a video about the different. There's 2 proposed landing sites up there where the mud flow, like one comes up from this side, and then one goes up further over here. So you're looking at this is south, by the way, and north. There's Mount Ararat over there. So Ararat is north of us, and the arc site is it's on a north south axis basically, kind of tilted a couple degrees or so towards the west where we're at. So the best photographs is always on this western side. That's where the visitor center is. So it's like perfect location. But uphill is south, and so there's a south and a southeast. You can say mud flow, like the origins of this landslide, earth flow that's coming down and it converges in this valley we're in. So we're on the western hill of this narrow channel, and the ark is on the western side. It's been pushed to the western side of this channel, and it's been tilted towards the west because the debris, you can say the mud, whenever the ark originally came down from above, got stuck here, and it's been pushed to this side and tilted over, pushed up. So um, the mountain, we'll make a video about Ron's research up there, what we've found, about the mud flow and about everything. But definitely the ark came down from above. As logic says that as the water receded from the flood, the ark would have obviously landed on the highest point of these mountains here. So how did it get down where it's at today? You see, it's in the middle of this earth flow. People always call it a mud flow, but parts of it could be a mud flow. Mud flows are fast moving. So if there's a lot of rain, you can say, okay, that's now a mud flow. But right now, we need to actually check how fast things are moving around here. But it's very slow. There's areas where there's erosion, and so you see a lot of that every spring. But an earth flow is a lot slower. Um, there's different names. I don't want to get too technical about it all. So yeah, that's my view about the larger mountain. We'll make a video about the research up on the border and the inscriptions Ron thought he saw. Volume is kind of low though. I'm sorry. Okay. So I have professional mics on, guys. You can't hear me. And the audio here is saying I'm hitting the right target. I have the DJI mics. I am sorry if it's low. I don't know, what else I can do. Sorry. I hope you can turn up your volume. Yeah, we're learning. I'm a professional NBC News crew. I'm using my iPhone. I'll try. I have to do some tests next time. Maybe we'll figure out what's going on. And maybe it's because my data is going to run out on my cell phone because I'm using streaming. Let's see. What are the plans to get inside the ark? Okay, that's the next question. Okay, so we have plans. What will they happen? God knows. Ron tried to excavate even past 1987. We were talking about that whole cutoff date when everything was supposed to be finished. No, Ron continued trying to do work. He did, radar scan. He did his mini excavations in the early 90s where they shaved off the side. That was past 87. He did that in 90 or 91. They found the rivet. That wasn't really any work, but the tour group he was with, they found it in 1991, I think that was. So, anyways, he always tried to apply for permits. That's when he got in trouble with the PKK. They kidnapped him and his group in the early 90s. But he was here trying to excavate the ark. And then he took a little break, and then they captured him south of here back then in the early 90s. But our plans, so there are different ideas. Obviously, I don't think a traditional 5 meter square hole in the ground that you see in like the Israeli excavations or in Egypt or even in Turkey. This traditional method of archaeology will work here. They really want that shape preserved, and it's very fragile, so they're not going to let us just dig a big hole. There's a non-traditional way that maybe will get us access to some of these inside chambers we're seeing with the GPR, but preserve the shape from the visitor center, this west side. And so maybe we can go in from the east side. The east side has a big drop off. You look at some of my videos. By the way, we have a new video coming out. Maybe it'll be ready by end of tonight, your American time. It's 116 gigabytes because it's a 360-degree video tour with our new camera, walking around the ark site from up here, going all the way down 360 to, all the way around the ark with a 360 camera, and then going up the ark. So shot a couple of days, one in July and last month, or in October and September maybe. But anyways, great view. You can use your thumb to move the video around. You can zoom in and out on YouTube, so it's an interactive type video, and you can see everything. But you'll notice on that east side, and some of the other videos or drone shots that we have, that there's a huge drop off. So we think we could tunnel in there and maybe get to the level where some of these voids are, and then you wouldn't even see that tunnel from this side. Obviously legally do this, but at least preserve the shape. So that requires, special techniques and people who can do mining type things, like make a tunnel in and not have it collapse on us. That's one idea. So let's see what else. Do you have the okay from Turkey to go much further? Yeah, so we work with the local, whether it's Agri University. They're always saying, Andrew, whatever you need done, go through us. Some of the most recent stuff we're doing with the soil test and things like that, I've been done with the retired professor who has his connections, and he can go out there and do things legally. We never do anything on our own. Um, Sorry, there was a little animal running around out here. So yeah, everything is done with the okay, and so we don't do it ourselves. Besides the 8-inch drill samples from the previous, okay, do you have any? I see. So the other question was, besides the 8-inch drill samples from the previous attempts, um, yes, that is the point of future drilling, is to actually do a complete survey. Just like there was soil samples taken by Ron in '79 and '84. Then we come around and do 88 samples, trying to do a complete analysis, so we can run the stats on this data and show that it was actually different soil inside versus outside. The same thing with core drilling. There was a basic, limited, not too deep coring done. There's one in the side that we show on our tours, right down over there. There was one hole went in 3 meters. And then there was, I think, Solly and Baumgartner in '88. They did coring like 3 or 4, but the wrong type of tool. So they ended up not getting good data because it was washed away. It was a water cooling coring. But that's another example of attempts in the past to core, and we hope to use the right type of coring, but do a lot more sampling, random samples, samples purposely at a certain location. Could we have exact GPS coordinates to where these voids are? And also where this denser material that could be petrified wood or structure deep in the ground, past 7 meters or so. So we're looking at doing coring there to get a sample out that would actually get us to that level of data deep in the ground, and not require us to excavate. So having a hole versus a big pit. So yeah, there is. See, So here's a question. Wait, did you find any evidence? Let me just see what this other. Did you find any evidence? I'm not sure what that's. You know, the evidence that's Noah's Ark. If they're just asking what we have found here, well, in the past people have measured it. We've measured it. Others. It's 300 cubits long. It's a ship shape that matches what a ship should be like to survive the flood. So not a barge, a shallow water river barge. No, this is a real ship shape that would survive out in the open seas. It's in the mountains of Ararat, so it's the right location. You have the soil inside showing that it's higher organic matter, showing that once decayed wood probably did this. You have a pattern of patterns below from the GPR work, showing that there's things that suggest that it's man-made structure still down below. So I think all of this, and then, everything we do so far, it hasn't been like negative. Like we don't get a test back and say, oh well, it's not this. Like the soil samples, oh, it's all the same. No, it's actually different. So if that's your question about the evidence, yeah, Ron's work, other people's work, our work, we're just building on it. And I really do believe this is the decayed, buried remains of Noah's Ark. Someone says the audio is perfect there. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you. I hope, I forget your name, sorry. I was scrolling down, but whoever had the audio problems, hope you can hear me. Um, Marinell stated in 1001 AD, two volcanoes erupted, breaking apart the ark from a higher location and from the land. I wasn't there in 1001 AD or 1000 AD. I didn't know she wrote that. I have her book, and and I heard what Ron has stated. But I'm living here. I've been up there in that mud flow with geologists many times. We have this really good satellite imagery from Google Earth and any other vendor. You can buy your own satellite imagery. There's no volcano here, so you do have Tinderick right nearby, further away though. That's why they call this the Tinderick Mountains, and we're right across though from the Mount Ararat. We'll do further tests. Maybe she's right. I wasn't there. Right now, it's a melange of different types of rocks and mud and dirt and material in the mud flow, right there. So, no evidence this is like a lava flow. Thank you, Andrew Jones, for your help with this very important information. No problem. Audio is all checked. Okay. No stress. Keep sharing. Thank you. Your volume is all the way up on my PC. My TV is disinvolved. No worries. Okay, I'm sorry. Oh, it's Damien Hunter. Okay, Damon, I'm sorry if there's audio problems. I don't know what else to do there. Uh, Cat hair identification found and fiber. Yes. Okay. I'm glad some of you guys know this stuff. That's great. So in regards to that one hole that was drilled in about 3 meters, or no, not, yeah, 3 meters, about 10 feet, I believe. I've heard different stories about who drilled the hole. Solly claims that it was him, and then later, Ron and Marinell they took the cat hair out, but he had drilled that hole in the side. I wasn't there. This was the late '80s, so I know Ron did take samples though out. I don't know if he claimed he drilled it. Anyway, the hole was drilled, and they did take samples out. And yes, they did find cat hair, so that's really important. And what looks to be maybe even man-made fibers because it had fiber optic qualities. Very, very tiny, but still fiber optic qualities. So that just shows that these other chambers we're seeing. We're very excited because we can stick a camera in, we can get samples. There is somebody. I'll just tell the story here, but I won't give the names. But he is a billionaire, and he wants to fund all the work. Then you will never see me ask for any money again to fund this. But we don't know his motivation, and things are going slow with the discussion. But every month they send me a message saying, "Okay, we'll get you. We're just moving along." Maybe next summer we'll be fully funded. Who knows? I'm not gonna get my hopes up and not even talk about it much. But well, the reason why I brought this up is because he has a tool, device where you can stick into a chamber or in regular soil. They said, and the biologist was talking to me, and it'll collect DNA, like ancient DNA and whatever else. It will analyze the soil. And so they're going around the world. I asked him, why are you interested in Noah's Ark? Because he contacted me in June. He had saw the New York Post story. This is like another reason why we don't say no to when someone wants to interview us, because you never know who will read it and what it will do. So, anyways, he contacted me and wanted to know more. He said, "Well, I see the news, but I want to hear it from your mouth." His secretary contacted me, and they gave me a link, and I saw that he has a Wikipedia page, and he's worth like $5 billion or something. And So when I was talking to him over Zoom, video calls, make sure he's real. But I said, "What's your motivation? Like, why are you interested?" And he said, "Well, I'm motivated. I have this extra money, and I fund many different things: UFO research, biblical archaeology, and looking for living dinosaurs and things like that." And so when I talked to later the biologists that they put over our project, if they fund us. But anyways, this lady I did a Zoom call with her, and she was saying they have this device they're using in Papua New Guinea, where they have oral traditions of the tribes there seeing living dinosaurs. I don't know, she gave the name, but I'm not into all that, so I don't know which flying or land dinosaur it was, but they want to collect. They said we can put this device out there and collect soil samples and then analyze it and figure out where, like, if there's these type of animals in the area or something unique, or they want to stick that into Noah's Ark. I can see why. This company, by the way, you can probably look it up, but yeah, I'm not going to say what they're doing, but anyways, they want to. I can see the marketing where they could say something like, "Hey, we're recreating the first animals off the ark." So, anyways, we'll see. God's in control. If He wants it to happen, it'll happen. I'm not going to push for it. So, but they have a device that can collect data from in these chambers. Let's see. I got next thing with Ron in Pass. I studied with Ron in Pass. Is this Grants Pass, or I'm not sure what? I'm sorry, we got a motorcycle going up to Uzungeli. It is cold out here, by the way. Um, any minute, there should be that Taiwanese tour group, and I'll have to go. That's why I came up here. It was because of them. They were doing a cultural tour, so this is a great reason. I think I mentioned this in my other videos, but if you're new, the visitor center that has been empty all these years until we renovated it and put things in it. Not everyone's allowed to go down there, by the way. If you come out here, Nuri maybe will let you go, but usually they're not allowed to let people on the ark. He stay at the visitor center, and usually these big tour groups that come through, they get half an hour here. They watch our 5-minute video, they see the posters, and then they go. They take their selfies. They have a little lecture up here on this overlook, this hill. So you can see Noah's Ark down there. So it's very important when these groups come through, whether they're Turkish or non-Christian groups, to understand the story of Noah's Ark. So we're so happy that those who have supported us, what we're doing in the visitor center, that it provides really good information, and we're going to update it this winter actually, with more information about the new radar scans and the new soil science, soil test. But this is why the visitor center is very important, because people can't go down there. I'm not always here. Maybe once a week I'll come out sometimes because I'm doing other things. So so I can't give a lecture. But today, a friend of mine who's a Turkish friend who is a guide here, and he contacted me yesterday and said, "Hey, I have a Taiwanese group coming. Can you come give a lecture?" I said, "Okay." I've done it before. A couple months ago, we had another Taiwanese group, and these are cultural tours, so they're not Christian. Most of the time, these Asian groups are not, and they're coming through Eastern Turkey, and so we're providing information about the story of the flood, and from the Bible. So very important, I think. Maybe it's not, but I think it is. There is a live interview recording with Richard Reeves, director, on YouTube. Okay, live interview. Richard gave a tour of Ron White Museum showing artifacts. Yep, I know Richard. I've done excavations with him in Jerusalem. Okay, so I don't know what that was referring to. The Grand Fisk. Well, I'm not sure what you're. But yeah. Hi. Yes, I don't. But yes, Richard. He doesn't promote the site much more. He's really focused on David Reeves' creation work, which is great. He has a TBN show and a big museum there in Tennessee, brand new one. But they have some stuff about Noah's Ark inside. Some people told me. I have not seen it, but I follow. David. When he was a kid, he was out there with his father in Jerusalem. So I was part of the team in Jerusalem from 2003 to 2006, doing that. We were looking for the Ark of the Covenant, or trying to validate Ron's claims in Jerusalem. So yeah, I know Richard. Let's see. Thank you, Andrew. I got to go. Sorry. God bless you guys. No problem. This will be live, so it'll be up. If the audio breaks up, I'm sorry. I'm using the cell service. Someday if they bring Starlink out here, if Elon Musk can tell the Turkish government and they can make an agreement, I think that's the tour group. I see 2 big buses. If they can do that, then we'll have fast connection. I talked to the NBC reporter, and they've used Starlink in other locations, and they said the upload speed's amazing. They can do full, like, 4K or HD video for a news report. So I can't wait. When it's approved, we're going to get it here at the ARC site. We'll have a 24-hour webcam set up. We'll use it ourselves. Tourists can have Wi-Fi access. But I'm praying that's fast because even in Saudi Arabia, it'd be nice to bring up a Starlink up on top of Mount Sinai and do a live broadcast up there. Anyways, the tour group is here, guys. God bless. If I missed a question, sorry. We'll do it again. Here's another question here about the finger bone. Nothing's been dated on the finger bones. But they definitely, Ron, I've seen them. Ron did find near the Noah's house site finger bones, and maybe some other locations, but definitely that's all I know. Anyways, God bless, guys. I hope you enjoyed this little chat. And I am frozen, so I'm going to try to get up. Yeah, getting old. Anyways, this is Noah's Ark. I really believe it is. Thank you for all your support and prayers, especially. And come out here if you have the chance. We will show you around. God bless and have a great day. Bye bye.